Please, can I have the leftovers?
Of course, you can take it.
Ma, please, if you don't want the food, can I have your leftovers? Those were the words of a homeless young woman who had gone 2 days without eating. She was standing outside one of the most expensive restaurants in Lagos, begging a wealthy woman for food. But neither of them knew the shocking truth. The billionaire she was begging from was actually her biological mother. 23 years earlier, that woman had been told her newborn daughter had died. She cried for years, searched everywhere, and eventually believed her baby was gone forever. Meanwhile, that same baby had been stolen from the hospital and raised by a poor woman who knew nothing about her real identity. Now, after 23 years, mother and daughter were standing face to face. And all it took to bring them together was a container of leftover food. But when the DNA test revealed the truth, the billionaire discovered something that would change both their lives forever. How did her own daughter end up homeless and begging her for food? Rain had started falling just before sunset in the busy city of Lagos. People hurried along the streets, covering their heads with bags, newspapers, and umbrellas. Cars splashed muddy water onto the roadside, while generators hummed outside restaurants and shops. Across the road from one of the most expensive restaurants in the city sat a young homeless woman named Amara. She was 23 years old. Her dress had once been blue, but years of washing and exposure to dust had faded it into a dull gray. One of her slippers was broken, and she had wrapped a small piece of cloth around her foot to protect it from the stones. She had not eaten since the previous morning. That evening, she watched wealthy customers leaving the restaurant with their expensive cars. Then she noticed a woman stepping outside. The woman was elegant, perhaps in her early 50s. She wore a simple but expensive cream-colored dress and carried a leather handbag. 2 men followed her, one carrying an umbrella and the other holding a phone. Her name was Mrs. Evelyn Okafor, one of the richest women in West Africa. Amara didn't know that. All she knew was that the woman had a takeaway container in her hand. Amara gathered courage and approached her. "Ma, please." Evelyn stopped. Amara lowered her eyes. "Please, if you don't want the food, can I have the leftover?" Evelyn stared at her. Something about the girl's voice felt strangely familiar. But she couldn't understand why. Evelyn looked at the food container. There was expensive rice, grilled chicken, vegetables, and a small dessert. "You haven't eaten?" she asked. Amara shook her head. "Not today." Evelyn's expression changed. She handed her the container. "Take it." Amara accepted it with trembling hands. "Thank you, Ma." She opened the container immediately. Evelyn watched as the young woman carefully divided the food. She ate slowly. Not because she wasn't hungry, but because she had learned to make one meal last as long as possible. Evelyn couldn't look away. "What's your name?" "Amara." "Amara what?" "Amara Nwosu." Evelyn suddenly felt something in her chest. Nwosu. The name belonged to someone from a painful chapter of her past. But she dismissed the thought. She turned to leave. Then Amara called after her. "Ma." Evelyn looked back. "Thank you for seeing me." The words were simple. But they stayed with Evelyn throughout the night. Evelyn lived inside a magnificent mansion in Ikoyi. Her house had 8 bedrooms, a swimming pool, several cars, and servants who attended to her every need. Yet that night, she couldn't sleep. She kept remembering the homeless girl. The girl's eyes. Her voice. The small scar above her left eyebrow. Evelyn sat on the edge of her bed. She opened an old wooden box hidden inside her wardrobe. Inside were photographs and documents from 23 years earlier. Her hands trembled as she removed one photograph. Showed a younger Evelyn holding a newborn baby. Beside her stood her former husband, Daniel Okafor. The baby had a tiny mark above her left eyebrow. Evelyn stared at the photograph. Then she whispered, "Amara." 23 years ago, Evelyn had been a completely different woman. She wasn't wealthy. She was a young businesswoman struggling to keep a small clothing shop alive. She had recently married Daniel. Their marriage wasn't perfect, but they loved each other. Then Evelyn became pregnant. The pregnancy was difficult. When the baby arrived, everyone celebrated. It was a beautiful girl. They named her Amara. But tragedy came only 3 months later. Evelyn's business partner betrayed her. A large shipment disappeared, leaving her heavily in debt. At the same time, Daniel was accused of stealing money from his employer. Their lives collapsed. Then Evelyn received a message from the hospital. Her baby was missing. Someone had taken her. Evelyn nearly lost her mind. She searched everywhere. But the child was never found. The person who knew the truth was a woman named Mama Ngozi. She had worked as a temporary nurse at the hospital. She told Evelyn that the baby had died. There had been complications, she claimed. Evelyn demanded to see the body. But Mama Ngozi said the hospital had already handled everything. Evelyn collapsed. Daniel blamed himself. Their marriage eventually broke apart. Years later, Evelyn rebuilt her life. She became wealthy. Extremely wealthy. But she never stopped searching emotionally for the child she believed she had lost. What Evelyn didn't know was that Mama Ngozi had lied. The baby had not died. She had been taken. Amara grew up in a small village in southeastern Nigeria. She was raised by an elderly woman called Mama Neka. Mama Neka told everyone that Amara was an orphan. Amara believed it. She grew up asking questions about her parents. Where is my mother? I don't know. Where is my father? I don't know. Why did they leave me? Mama Neka would always become quiet. But she loved Amara deeply. She sold vegetables to pay for the girl's schooling. Unfortunately, poverty eventually forced Amara to leave school. At 17, she moved to Lagos searching for work. She never imagined that the city would take almost everything from her. Amara worked as a cleaner. Then as a housemaid. Then as a roadside food seller. Every job ended badly. One employer refused to pay her. Another accused her of stealing. Eventually, she became homeless. She slept under an unfinished building with several other women. Some nights, she went to bed hungry. Other nights, she survived on leftover food from restaurants. Yet Amara remained kind. If she had one piece of bread, she shared half. If someone was sick, she helped. People often told her, "Your kindness will not feed you." Amara always smiled. "Maybe not. But it will keep me human." The morning after meeting Amara, Evelyn called her private investigator. His name was Mr. Adewale. "I want you to find everything about a young woman named Amara Nwosu." He looked surprised. "Who is she?" "I don't know yet." Evelyn gave him the location of the restaurant. "Find out where she came from. Who raised her. Where she was born. Everything." Adewale nodded. "How urgent?" Evelyn stared at the old photograph on her desk. "Very." Adewale found Amara within days. He discovered where she slept. He discovered the names of people who knew her. Then he found something unexpected. Amara had a birth certificate. The document listed her date of birth. It was exactly the date Evelyn's daughter had been born. Evelyn's hands shook when she saw the copy. "That's not enough," she whispered. Adewale agreed. "We need DNA." But there was another problem. Amara had never seen her original birth records. The documents had disappeared years ago. Adewale traveled to the village where Amara had grown up. He found Mama Neka. The elderly woman became nervous when he mentioned Amara. "Why are you asking about her? Who gave her to you?" Mama Neka's eyes filled with tears. "I promised never to tell." "Tell whom?" She remained silent. Adewale placed Evelyn's photograph on the table. Mama Neka stared at it. Then she began to cry. "I knew this day would come." Mama Neka finally revealed the truth. 23 years earlier, a frightened woman had brought a baby to her house. The woman was Mama Ngozi. She told Mama Neka that the baby had been abandoned. But she begged her to raise the child secretly. Why? Mama Neka didn't know. She only knew that Mama Ngozi paid her money. But she never told Mama Neka who the baby's real parents were. Before Mama Ngozi died, she returned once. She warned Mama Neka. Never let anyone know where the girl came from. Mama Neka had obeyed. Until now. Adewale searched old hospital records. After weeks of searching, he found something shocking. The record showed that Evelyn had delivered a baby girl. The baby had a small birthmark near her shoulder. Amara had the exact same mark. Adewale immediately called Evelyn. "Madam, I think we found her." Evelyn couldn't speak. She simply sat down. For 23 years, she had prayed for a miracle. Now the miracle might be standing outside a restaurant begging for leftovers. Evelyn didn't want to approach Amara without proof. She feared destroying the girl's life if she was wrong. So she arranged a discreet DNA test. Adewale collected a sample from Amara with her permission, telling her it was connected to a possible family inheritance investigation. Evelyn provided her own sample. Days passed. Evelyn barely slept. Finally, the result arrived. The probability of maternity was overwhelming. Amara was her daughter. Evelyn dropped the document. Then she began to cry. "My baby is alive." Evelyn wanted to run to Amara immediately. But she stopped herself. She was afraid. What if Amara hated her? What if the girl believed she had abandoned her? What if she refused to accept her? Evelyn asked Adewale to arrange a private meeting. But before he could do so, something happened. Amara disappeared. For 3 days, nobody could find her. The unfinished building where she slept was empty. Her friends didn't know where she had gone. Evelyn became desperate. She searched hospitals, police stations, shelters, bus stations. Nothing. Then a phone call came. It was from a woman named Rita, who sold food near the market. "Madam, I know where Amara is." Evelyn rushed there. Amara had been taken to a small clinic. She had collapsed from hunger and exhaustion. Evelyn entered the clinic room. Amara was lying on a narrow bed. She looked weak. When she saw Evelyn, she smiled. "You came." Evelyn's heart broke. She sat beside her. "I came because I need to tell you something." Amara looked confused. Evelyn held her hand. "You are not alone." "What do you mean?" Evelyn began crying. "I have searched for you for 23 years. Amara stared at her. Then Evelyn whispered, "I am your mother." Amara laughed nervously. "No." Evelyn nodded through tears. "I know it sounds impossible." "No," Amara repeated. "You have the same birthday. The same birthmark. And the DNA test confirms it." Amara stared at the document. Her hands trembled. She remembered Mama Neka. She remembered all those years of asking about her mother. Then she looked at Evelyn. Why didn't you come for me? Evelyn's face collapsed. I thought you were dead. Evelyn also discovered that Daniel was alive. He had spent years believing their daughter had died. After the marriage ended, Daniel left Nigeria. He became a schoolteacher in Ghana. When Evelyn contacted him, he refused to believe her at first. Then he saw the DNA results. He cried. She survived. Yes. Daniel returned to Nigeria. But he was terrified to meet her. He felt he had failed his daughter. Daniel finally met Amara. He stood several feet away. He didn't know what to say. I'm sorry. Amara looked at him. For what? For not finding you. You didn't know where I was. I should have searched harder. Amara was silent. Then she walked toward him. Daniel began crying. Amara hugged him. For the first time in 23 years, a father held his daughter. Mama Nneka traveled to Lagos. She apologized to Amara. I should have told you. Amara shook her head. You raised me. Your real parents were looking for you. I know. Mama Nneka cried. I was afraid. Amara held her. You were the mother I knew. That moment taught Evelyn something important. Being a parent was not only about giving birth. It was also about staying when life became difficult. Evelyn wanted to know who had taken her daughter. Investigation uncovered the truth. Mama Ngozi had been involved in a baby-selling network. Several babies had disappeared from the hospital during that period. Evelyn's daughter had been one of them. Mama Ngozi had initially planned to sell Amara. But when the buyer disappeared, she gave the baby to Mama Nneka. The police reopened the old case. Several surviving suspects were questioned. One elderly man finally confessed. The confession revealed something else. Evelyn's family had been wealthy even before she became a billionaire. Some people knew that her newborn daughter could eventually inherit part of the family property. That made the child valuable. But the kidnapping had been motivated primarily by greed. Amara had never been abandoned. She had been stolen. The truth destroyed Evelyn. For years, she had blamed herself. Now she understood that someone else had made the decision that separated her from her child. Evelyn wanted to give Amara everything. A mansion. A car. Money. Jewelry. A business. But Amara refused most of it. I don't want to become someone else overnight. Evelyn asked. What do you want? Amara thought for a moment. I want a home. Evelyn began crying. You will have one. Amara shook her head. Not a mansion. A home. That sentence changed Evelyn. Evelyn bought a modest house for Amara. It wasn't the biggest house in the city. It wasn't the most expensive. But it had a beautiful garden. Amara chose a blue door. Why blue? Evelyn asked. Because the dress I wore the day we met was blue. Evelyn smiled. She remembered. That same blue dress had been the first thing Amara had been wearing when she approached her for food. The woman had unknowingly given her daughter her first meal after 23 years. Months later, Evelyn returned to the restaurant where she had first met Amara. This time, Amara was beside her. The restaurant manager recognized them. You've been here before, he said. Evelyn smiled. Yes. She looked at Amara. That was where I found my daughter. Amara laughed. I found my mother there too. Neither woman could forget that evening. A wealthy woman had walked out carrying leftover food. A homeless girl had approached her. Neither knew they were mother and daughter. Amara could have lived a life of luxury. Instead, she decided to help homeless people. She opened a foundation that provided meals, temporary shelter, and vocational training. Her first project was a small shelter near the same restaurant where she had once slept. She named it the Second Chance Home. When journalists asked why she chose that name, she answered, "Because I was given a second chance." Then she added, "And because nobody should have to beg for food simply because life was unfair to them." Evelyn continued building her businesses. But she changed. She became less concerned about appearing successful and more concerned about helping people.